Alright, it's time for another pup truck video. This time I'm going to be putting a front grill guard on the front of the truck, and I'm using this towing bar here that I picked up for free. And I just cut off this part of it, and I'm going to mount this underneath the truck like that. So it'll come up at an angle underneath the front bumper. Probably about 14 inches apart. And then I'm going to need a crossbar or a little vertical piece to come up, so it'll come up a little higher, like in front of the grill. And I'll show you what it's. Now I've got one bar clamped up underneath to the skid plate with a small clamp, and what I'm going to need to do is weld another bar onto here to go up in front of the guard. So I'll need two pieces, two vertical pieces about 14 inches long, 15, about 50, maybe 16 inches long, yeah, about 16. And there, you can see I've got a little clamp holding it on here. So I'm going to weld it to the skid plate like a 1-inch weld there, and I'll probably weld it all the way around the end right there. The skid plate's pretty solid. Excuse me, skid plate. Most of the impact would be going straight in, so a lot of the impact's going to be right there on that first weld, and that's really solid right there because it's bolted right here on both sides, so it's really sturdy up front here. So it's going to be solid there, you know. And then this area up here, I could, if I wanted to, put an extension to support the guard. I didn't really want to do that, but I might be able to get by with maybe an extension right here out to this bar for a little extra reinforcement. And you know, then I'm just going to put a crossbar across the two pieces, and I'm thinking about putting a little shelf out here so I can put a winch, but that's kind of optional right now. It's not really necessary. And So that's the next project. I need to weld these bars up on here, but I'm going to remove the skid plate, and then I'm going to clamp the bars to it and weld everything together off of the vehicle. So here's the bars. I took the skid plate off the front of the truck, and pretty easy to do, just 4 bolts. And I got the bars clamped on. This is what it's going to look like here. And then here, you know, I'll have to run some extensions up in front of the grill, and then a crossbar across. Try to find some material for that. And you can see the bar is, it's right on a gusset. There's a gusset right next to the bolt hole where this thing bolts up to the front cross member. So it's a pretty reinforced area. The bolt goes right through that hole right there, right next to the gusset. So there's a lot of strength in there. I could reinforce that gusset with another 1/4 inch plate next to it and still have plenty of room for the bolt. But once this thing's bolted up, I mean, this thing's solid. Like this is like 3 gauge. It's like 3 gauge steel, pretty thick stuff, formed. It's strong enough for this. And I'm just going to weld it like right around here, you know, 1 inch weld there, and a little here, and another inch there on both sides. Then this, because this thing gets bolted up like right there by that gusset plate. And then there's bolt tabs here that bolt on the front of the cross member. So, and that goes right across here where it's going to be welded at. So this whole area straight across here is going to be solid. It's going to be solid and good enough. There was another spot where I thought about mounting the bars at, and that was right next to the towing holes where you attach your tow bar to in the front of the vehicle around the frame area. But if I welded it to the undercarriage support cross member, you know, anywhere around there, around the frame's going to get damaged, you know. And I'd rather, if there's any impact on this front bar, I want all the impact to go to this, the skid plate, not the structural frame under the vehicle. I want to protect the frame at all costs, but this can absorb a lot of impact. You know, if like a car backs up into the front of the truck, this will get dented up in here. It'll probably crush this a little bit. It'll crush this here, and that's about it. But it'll protect the bumper. The bumper will be protected. And that's pretty much all I'm really trying to do here, is just provide the bumper with some protection, the bumper and the grill, because they're hard to replace parts. Hard to find a chrome bumper for these 80s ISUZU trucks. So, you know, that'll save a lot of money in the long run. So, yeah, I'm going to weld this up and try to get things going on it, and we'll see how it goes. Do another video later as it progresses. Alright, thanks. Well, I decided to use the whole towing stabilizer bars, both pieces, to make one front bumper guard. It just seems like the right thing to do. It's going to be a small one, but I just kind of want it to be centered anyway in the center of the bumper. It doesn't have to be big right now. I can always add you know, grill bars to the right and left to protect the grill. But this actually goes up to around almost to the top of the grill, just below that that top cross member of the grill, which is good enough for right now. Provides ample protection. Don't knock me on the welds. They'll do, and they're satisfactory. You know, it's just a grill guard. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's all going to be painted over, covered over anyway. But I'm using just a little welder, a little 110 household welder, using the 332 rod, E7018, which works pretty good. There's another weld. Not bad. Good enough for what we're doing here. So I found this piece, which came off of my trailer, my Harbor Freight 4x8 trailer, and I think I'm going to use it as a cross member, something like that. I'll have to cut it off here. I'm going to cut this tab extension off to where it's square with thing, and I'm going to use this cross tab over here to cover this end up. So it'll look like that, and that'll work. And that's what it looks like. Not finished yet. I'm going to add some gusset plates on it, reinforce it. So I got the basic done. Still have to put some support rods here, maybe over to that bolt right there, and then over here to that bolt. Probably direct them up at a slight angle. Took a couple days. That's about it.